on to a lovely celebration, all focused at celebrating women today. So, whoever joins us will be celebrating women, will be acknowledging women, women that have made an impact on you and your journey. And I'm Manwara Ali. I'm a leadership consultant, coach, and a CEO of a charity called Wolf and Forest Community Hub. And today I'm joined by two wonderful ladies, Laurette Hudson and Ivy. We're also expecting another panelist to join us later. I'm going to pass over to you, Laurette. The floor's yours.
Hello
Laurette?
everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. Welcome.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Hello everyone. Welcome. Such a pleasure to be here because what we're celebrating is International Women, us, wonderful pioneers doing great things. And for me today, two words: power and freedom. And what I do, I'm a leadership coach, and I really empower people to recognize their power and they have choices around freedom. Because, we as women sometimes tend to think that we don't have any power, we don't have any freedom because of the propaganda. The media tell us who we are or who we should be, and everyone around us try to tell us who we are. And it's our time to really recognizing, who we are as individuals and own it, stand in it, and really appreciate who we are. So, Laura and I just want to acknowledge you for being here and the work that you do, your inspired leadership. Just keep on pushing and forging and making a difference. So, today I have the opportunity, as some of you might know, I've created boxing's mama used to say, in recognition of my grandmother, her wisdom. And so I've had the opportunity to go and display to them today in the Black Farmer store in Brixton, which is an opportunity which is really great. And so I'm going to be coming off at 10:30, and Monwara and the other two ladies will continue after me. So that's what team and teamwork is all about. You don't have to do everything. There's always other people there to support you. So I'm going to hand you over to Ivy, who will introduce herself and tell you about a little bit about what she does. So over to you, Ivy.
Thank you so much, Laurette. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Monwara. Now, before I even introduce myself, I just want to say that these two women here, I really hold you in high esteem. You have a special place in my heart. I had a conversation with Laurette about a year ago or so. That conversation still rings true in my head, Laurette. And thank you for that. Monwara, we've talked on several occasions. You inspire me. Both of you inspire me a lot as a person and as a woman as well. So my name is Ivy, and Ivy Ngwa, and I am a few things. I am a teacher to start with. I'm a mother as well, and I am also a coach and mentor to parents, young people, and children. My thing is parenting. I am passionate about supporting parents and supporting young people and supporting children as well, but just supporting parents to help them, to support them, to raise confident, resilient, and happy children. Because with resilience, children can go a long way. I have seen that at play in school, in schools where I teach. I have seen that at play with my own children. I have seen that at play with every young person and child that I have come across, really. Today is a special day, International Women's Day. This day, I kind of I want to take what Lolette said to say freedom, because for me, one of my core values is freedom. The freedom to exist, the freedom to walk into spaces that I really want to walk into, the freedom to voice my opinions, and the freedom to be heard, the freedom to listen, to heard and be heard. So I really resonate with that as well. So for me today, the one word that stands out is freedom. I'm gonna pass you over to Veronica. Hello,
Oh,
Veronica.
hello, I just came in. Sorry for the delay. Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, everyone. It's lovely to see all your faces and to be together celebrating this weekend of International Women's Day. Manwara, Lalette, Divey. So, yes, my name is Veronica Safwa Owusu. Most people know me as V Power Coach. And also the Gold Dust Queen from my book, Rise Up Gold Dust Queen. Why V? Because that's Veronica. And why Power? The power that I had to step into once upon a time. So V Power is the deep dive mindset coach that unlocks the extraordinary potential of extraordinary people that truly want to live a fulfilling, joyful, and peaceful life. Apart from that, I'm also an online business growth strategist, specializing specifically in online program development and online signature courses, helping my fellow coaches and consultants who truly also want to make a difference in the world. Package that gold dust of skills, of passion, of stories, of knowledge into signature programs, signature courses that have a framework, that have a blueprint, that have a methodology, so that they become that specialist and they attract the right kind of clients that truly together, make that difference in their lives and in their own lives as well. So it's a truly fulfilling experience. I love my work. I love my life. I love my clients, and I'm truly grateful to be even here and have the opportunity to sit here, have these conversations, and yes, expand our consciousness. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Veronica. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for being here and whoever is watching us now and will be joining us. So, just to say, if you join us and you would like to speak and acknowledge and celebrate a woman that has had an impact in your journey, then please let us know and send me a message or put your hand up and we'll invite you in and you'll have your 2 minutes of fame. So I don't know who wants to go first, but is there somebody a specific? I know Lolette mentioned you mentioned your grandmother, Lolette. Ivy or Veronica, do you want to celebrate or like acknowledge a particular woman that you know?
Wow. There's so many women around me, so many women that have supported me, so many women that I want to acknowledge. So for the first round, let it be, the old style. My mother, naturally, right? My mother is one of the most courageous women I know. When she was only 22 years old, she left Poland, which was still, in those communist days. And she left Poland to Africa, specifically Ghana. Everybody was like, where are you going? What are you going to do in your life? Where are you going to Africa? Where is that? Where's Ghana? People were so scared. Her family, of course, was so scared for her. But my mom was very courageous. She had read stories about this great continent. And when she met my father, who was studying in Poland, and the story goes that he was teaching her English and she was teaching him Polish, and actually they fell in love, and she moved to Ghana at only 22 years old. Can you imagine? 22. What was I doing at 22 years old? Well, I was studying. I was in university. But anyway, so there we go. My mom, for her courage and what she instilled in me as well. Me following her footsteps as a teacher as well.
Lovely, brilliant. What an amazing, inspiring part of your journey, Veronica.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for sharing that. Really acknowledge your mother. That is so courageous. I can't imagine myself doing it. No way.
In
But
those days.
yeah, yeah. So who wants to go next? Ivy?
I just want to, just like Veronica, mother,
Oh,
home,
yes.
mother, mother. There's one word that every time I remember mom, because my mom passed away sadly last year, in July, and there's one word. Even before she passed, she had such an influence, not just in me, but in the community, because my mom was a teacher as well. So it meant that children in the community who were the naughty child, because I grew up in a community where we brought up children as a community.
Mm.
So one mother could, house the other child and feed them and bath them and return them in the night just when they're about to go to bed to their own home. That is the community I grew up in. And so when children in the community were known as children who were naughty, quote unquote, it was mom that they brought the children to. They would come, they would live in our house for about 2 days. So our doors were always open. They would come, they'll live in our house for about 2 days a week. And by the time they go back to their houses, they were changed children. However, I never, ever remember her raising her voice too much, which is struck a chord in me when I started teaching, because every time there was any feedback that I received was, your classrooms are always so calm. And I never knew it, that I was doing it, until last year when she passed and I was reading a eulogy at her funeral, which my sister kindly wrote. It said in there, mother was the mother of all. And every single one of her friends who came and said something said exactly the same thing. So my mother is that woman who greatly inspires me. One word stands out always when I remember her: autonomous. You have to be autonomous. You have to be industrious. She said these two words every single time. I said one, but they are two: autonomy and industrious. You have to be industrious. She said them. I can remember hearing industrious even when I was about maybe 5, 6, 7. I can remember it. So it's mother for me. And of course, there are many other women whose achievements that I celebrate and I acknowledge as well. So that's me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ivy. And how relevant that tomorrow is Mother's Day in the UK. That you've mentioned your mother, and what a beautiful story. And the words, it's so profound how some words can be so deeply ingrained in us and we don't understand the relevance of them. And maybe in our teens or in our 20s or sometimes even in our 30s, until they hit us. And like you said, it's only once we lose the individual that we start reflecting, and the power of those words become a lot more clearer. So I'm gonna say thank you for sharing that, and especially I want to acknowledge that it does take vulnerability to share these things, but we are here to inspire others like us, and we are here to celebrate women. And why should we wait until some women become a part of history before we decide we should celebrate them? There's a lot going out there. There are mixed messages and feelings around what's happening in the world. But I think it's still important for us to celebrate maybe those that are not usually celebrated. So I'm going to hand over to you, Laurette, before I start lecturing again. Over to you.
Will you stop that, Manwara, about lecturing? You are sharing your pearl of wisdom with us. What do you mean lecturing? Oh, my listening for lecturing is telling something. What I'm hearing there is pearls of wisdom. I mean, every time you speak, you share something that touched, moved, and inspired me. So take the word lecturing out. You're not running a program. You're actually sharing your pearls of wisdom. And for me, it's my grandmother's pearl of wisdom. Every time I hear her, she's no longer here, but I really hear that word power and freedom in everything that she does. And, throughout the history, it's the power and freedom that women like Nanny of the Maroons in Jamaica, even though through the days of colonization and slavery, she didn't sit back. She was quite powerful and said, I'm not sitting here as a woman and just take it. She was a staunch leader and continue to be a leader today, as far as I'm concerned. And Veronica, I acknowledge you for who you are, in terms of how you show up on LinkedIn and continue to show up and climbing mountains as well with Monwara. That's
Literally.
just, yeah, literally, And one of the things that as women, we don't take acknowledgements very um easily. Because, for example, you say to a woman, a friend or somebody, and said, "Oh, I love that you've got on. I love the way you do this." And, it's always oh, this whole thing, I've had it for years. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm acknowledging you to say you look good. But we've gone into this whole story about, oh, this whole thing, I've had it for years. I never bought it. I got it from a second-hand shop and da 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 da. I'm not really hearing what this person is actually saying. So we really have to look at where we stand in our power and our freedom, and we give it away. And it's about understanding that, we have got so much power in the way we communicate, the way we show up consistently, because people relate to us according to how we show up, and need to know that. I mean, I watched Veronica dancing and I'm thinking, would I do that? No, no, I wouldn't. But that's you. It wouldn't work for me, but that's you. And we really have to understand and recognize that you have to be you. And that's my conversation today. Be you in everything that you do. Because, we might think, oh, who am I to be saying this? Like Manuel said, I feel like I'm giving a lecture, but it's not a lecture. It's your wisdom, it's your pearl of wisdom. It's what you give to the world. This how you inspire people, and really and recognize that, and don't let anyone make you believe like you're talking too much, because there's people in society like to tell you, oh, you talk too much, or you this, or you this. There's always somebody there telling you what's wrong with you. So it's really understanding that, what, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfect, whole and complete. So I'm gonna rest there.
How powerful is that? Come on, Veronica. I see you
Yes.
wanting to jump in.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just acknowledging all that she's saying, and I'm smiling, I'm nodding, I'm just enjoying the flow. When Lolette speaks from a space of passion, it just flows, and that's so beautiful to observe. When we are all in a state of flow, aren't we? We kind of just speak with so much passion. And sometimes when people ask, what did you just say 1 minute ago? I'm like, I don't remember. And I'm just like speaking, I'm declaring, and I'm just, putting it out there. You don't even remember what you said a minute ago. That's the power of the voice and of passion.
Yeah.
What about you, Manuara? Who is the woman that you want to acknowledge?
There are lots of women, as always. I think women I work with, I'd like to acknowledge women in my life. So I have a niece who is very powerful. Actually, she is on LinkedIn, in case she is listening. Her name's Nazira. She doesn't really know her power or realize her power, but I think she has abundant potential, a good human being, a very, very strong woman, able to hold a lot of responsibility from a very young age, being a carer. I want to celebrate my sisters, one of whom is here, but I'm not sure if she wants the camera on and if she wants to come live. But I want to celebrate my sisters because I think, they've had very, very interesting journeys. And even though the confidence isn't right there, they are sometimes my right hand. So giving me that motivation, giving me the encouragement and the empowerment that I need on a personal basis. And finally, I want to celebrate the allies who are not even women, but the men. I do find a couple of very strong allies on LinkedIn. I don't know if I should mention their names. Lee Chambers is one of them. I think David. Oh gosh, David. Why is my mind gone blank? Everybody must know David. I just saw a post about a couple of days ago, and I'm going to remember his name later at some point. It will come back. But David is also an amazingly inspiring ally. Sal Nassim, who's also on LinkedIn, I find a really, really somebody who not only says, but his actions demonstrate that he is an ally in this space, celebrating women. Um, the theme of investing in women and accelerating progress, why it's so important and why I felt it was so important for us to talk about it this year is because I was doing some research and I discovered that women CEOs, and it's relevant to me, I guess, because of the job I do, get paid 13% less globally than our male counterpart. And also, they're understanding how the role and the importance of women when it comes to reproduction, production, and why it's so important then to invest in the woman. Because when you're investing in a woman, you're investing in the whole of the nation. Um, and that I find there's not a lot of emphasis on how we can do that, when I'm thinking any woman who is in a senior leadership role who is watching this now may not even realize how they can use their own power to suggest to their companies, their organizations, or if they're running that company, okay, let's look at the salaries we paid these women. Are we paying a fair salary? What's stopping? It's the same thing that all of you ladies are talking about in terms of standing in our power. Why can't I, if I'm in charge, suggest that we not be one of those 13%, companies that fall under that 13% radar? And how about raising the salaries of these women so that we're not paying them what society is paying everyone, every other company in society is paying? Let's pay them above. Let's benchmark this at a higher level where we feel it should be. And for me, that's leadership, because leadership requires us to be the first to make that change. And then perhaps if we can encourage others, people will follow. So I've got into a rant about investing in women and accelerating progress. When you invest in a woman, you do accelerate progress. I felt in my journey that I couldn't ask for more. And I do feel, and I want to hear everyone else's perspective on this, like women find it really hard to ask. However, I was talking to a young lady in her 20s, and she said she asked her manager, who happens to be a female, for a salary, for a pay rise twice, and she was turned down. So, over to whoever wants to take over.
Okay, so
Before you speak, I'm going to jump off and I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. I've got the opportunity to display my things Mama used to say today. So it's a great opportunity. So goodbye to everyone and have a great rest of the show, and I'll catch up with you soon. So take care. Bye
All
bye.
the best, Lole.
bye,
Bye
Lola.
bye.
All the best. So, Monwara, you mentioned something there, which it's something that, in terms of the pay and salary of women and women CEOs, I think it's not even just in at that top managerial level. I think even in middle leadership as well, women sometimes feel like they cannot ask for more. And when I talk about more, it's not just in terms of the salary, but it could be in terms of time. It could be in terms of, how, what they bring in terms of that middle leadership, different styles of management as well. Women sometimes feel like they have to step into a certain role. They have to role play, for example, in order to maybe, excel in that position as well. For example, I am more of an introverted person, and I found that in that middle leadership role, the women who tend to be more extroverted, or who tend to be more, more extroverted, tended to be listened to more, listened to quote unquote more, or their voice, because they have a louder voice, let me say so, or they can project more, they tend to be listened to more. And so, I have asked for more in my role, in my leadership role. Now, I have been turned down for good reason, but that was the first time I ever stepped into the shoes of asking for more, because I felt that I needed more and I deserved more. but also the courage for every woman to ask for more, it's often lacking. And that is because we have grown in a society where women should, quote unquote, not ask for more, you know. But I really want to encourage every woman who, one, feels that they deserve to be given more, and that more can be time, it can be effort, it can be support in that role that they're serving in. um for example, sometimes women may want, maybe you have a team and that team is four, but you know that the team needs six people to get the job done. Often women will go stretch and get that job done without asking for more in terms of the personnel. But I really want to encourage women in whatever field they find themselves in, be it at home as parents, asking for more as parents as well. Maybe you want to ask for more in terms of, I need more to I need more money, or I need a cleaner, or I need help in within the household. So I really want to encourage women to, one, first off, acknowledge that they need help, because that acknowledgement as well is something that we women struggle with. I know I struggled with that. Secondly, once you've acknowledged that you need that help, be courageous enough to ask for that help. And thirdly, receive the help that is being given. Like Lolette said earlier, sometimes when we acknowledge women, they downplay it. No, we should stop that habit of downplaying the help that we are getting. If I say your jacket looks beautiful, accept it, that yes, my jacket actually really looks beautiful, and stand in that. So that's me.
Yeah. Manora, are you waiting for me to say something? Oh, you're smiling.
I'm happy for you to take over, Veronica.
No, I'm not. I'm just, flowing with it. I'm going to tackle it from a different perspective. So my question is, where did it all come from? When did it start? When did we stop asking? When did we stop, having the urge or the need, or when did we start having this feeling of inadequacy to ask? When did it start? That's my curiosity. That's where I'm really curious. But I'm sure every woman will have a different answer. When did you start? When did you stop asking? When was it that you decided that you can't ask? Who encouraged you, or when in your life did you stop asking? And did you ever ask in your whole existence? You trace it back to your childhood as usual, at least in my case. Growing up in Ghana, and I think it's not even a Ghanaian thing. I think it's a world national thing, international thing. Don't ask for too much. As parents, sometimes I don't find my children asking, and I have to catch myself. I want this, mommy wants, like, hey, why are you always asking? I'm like, oh no, I have to talk and explain and understand them. Why is it that they want it, so that I can actually make a decision if it's something worth investing in. But we usually trace it down to our childhood. And I remember whenever you want something, a new toy, or you want to do something, and you're asking, be modest. Why are you asking for too much? Don't you know there are other people in the world starving or don't have anything? Be grateful, right, for the little that you have. And these things are quite relevant in those stages of our lives. Unfortunately, as we grow older, they stop having the same relevance or the same significance. But we still hold on to those kind of beliefs. So as we grow, we stop asking. We don't want to be seen as, too greedy. We don't want to be seen as, not being grateful, or we just want to be modest and humbled by whatever we have. So with every woman, I'm sure it's different. With every human being, it's different. I don't come from a corporate background. I'm a teacher. I've always been a teacher, and I've always been on the floor with kids. So I've never had the experience of working in corporate as in traditionally as we hear it. In the teaching industry, we're mainly women. So the pay was very much similar. So from that perspective, teachers definitely didn't have the same pay as other professions, even though we are one of the most important elements in the growth of the economy and in our children, right? So we've definitely been asking for more as teachers. There's a whole movement, and especially in Poland. I worked in Poland for 15 plus years. So asking for more and the inability of some to ask, you need to really understand it for yourself. When did you stop asking? And then understand what happened so that you can actually start tackling the chronic issue.
Really powerful there, Veronica. I have a question for you. So you asked, like, when did we start? And that's a really important reflective journey we must take to
Mhm.
understand, right? What if we never learned to ask?
Exactly. And it was never role modeled, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Right?
what if we never learned to ask because we never had a female role model who ever asked? So therefore,
Hmm.
then in our 30s, we learned how to ask as part of our personal development.
Hmm.
Do you feel that there are times when people can default to the old ways even when they do learn how to ask?
Hmm.
What's your view? Or
And let's go even earlier to the baby. The baby has a natural, innate ability to ask by crying. I have a need, and fearlessly they will just cry until they get what they want,
Hmm.
unless they're so neglected that they stop crying, realizing that there's nobody that's coming to save them or there's nobody there to help. And then that's a whole different road that that baby will take growing up, and usually lacking, not receiving the empathy. They also have the inability to show empathy, but that's a different story. So I'd like to believe, looking at the way a baby expresses their needs, that we have an innate expression of want. Our needs, our basic needs, according to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's a basic need that all of us need and want. So we have different ways of expression. So asking, if we weren't role modeled to ask, and we didn't have a woman in our lives that role modeled that quality or that trait or that virtue, then growing up, it could certainly be a struggle. But there's an innate need that every human being has the ability to express. And I'd like to believe that as long as you have a voice, right, you have the capacity and the capability. Until, of course, like you mentioned, rightly so, when we grow up and then we have these personal development experiences, and then we see people around us, and we start learning. And if that experience enables and ignites the innate ability, then we should thrive from there, unless there are other components and elements to take into consideration. It's such a complex mind map of different alternatives, and generalizing it can feel easy. But when we look at different aspects of asking, we realize that there's more to it than meets the eye.
Hmm.
yeah, complexity that probably isn't so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ivy.
And I suppose, like you say, Veronica, complexity it's nuanced, isn't it? It's nuanced in the sense that what works for one person does not necessarily work for the other, and the experiences of one person are not the same as the experiences of others. And these experiences are partly responsible for us developing those beliefs that we hold within us in this arena of asking. And you know, I suppose once someone in their 30s, like you said, Monwara, has learned that it is important to ask, it then is incumbent on that person to constantly remind themselves so that they can lay a new neural pathway to start believing that asking is okay. It is all right to ask. And even if the answer is no, I asked.
Absolutely. I love that. And I've worked with a lot of career coaches over the years, helping them create their programs. And I've learned there's a pattern that these career coaches have when it comes to asking, that there's a strategy, right? You have to have laid the foundation and built the roadmap to the moment when you ask. So you increase your chances of getting a yes. So it's not just ask because I deserve it. I know I deserve it, but laying the foundation, it could mean taking part in more activities or being more proactive. There are different things,
Mm.
so that when the time does come, there is a solid case that the manager or the executive, whoever, has no reason not to say yes, unless there's a deeper reason why, and that could be explored. So it's also about us being more proactive and more intentional about uh, our careers. If it is you want a promotion, or if you want to ask for a raise, that we do the foundational work leading towards that moment.
Mm.
That's so interesting because I was just wondering around about the complexities and the context of every situation. I'm in a few spaces now as someone that others are seeing as an EDI expert, and yes, I am an EDI expert because I've put myself in lots of complex situations. But I find that the when you get down to the bottom nitty gritty and look at the entire context, each situation stands on its own.
That's it.
And it's never about whether it's a BMI issue or a gender issue or sexuality. It's more about the individual circumstances and the complexity around it. I remember once when I asked for more, I was turned down. And it took me some time to figure out. I mean, it didn't knock me, well, I'm human, so obviously emotionally affected me there and then. And I thought, oh my gosh, like after this many years, I asked for the first time and I worked so hard. And they've just shown me they don't value me. Those were my initial, feelings and hurt. But it took me a few weeks to figure out eventually when I went and confronted the individual, when they explained, oh, I got you wrong because I assumed you lacked confidence. So I was trying to push you and stretch you.
Oh, wow. Amazing story, Manuela. That is a revelation of the
Wow.
individuality and the complexities of every case.
Mm.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, and we don't actually think of that. We put everything in the same context
Okay.
and
Yeah.
think it has to be that way. And bringing us back to like women and investing in women, and the whole thing around the roles of women. So motherhood itself. I know it's tomorrow, and I know we're trying to celebrate lots of mothers out there. It's not an easy job, and men who are mothering as well,
Mhm.
mothering and nurturing. I think it's important to point that out as well. Um, like, what's the role of the woman? Like the role of the mother? Can we unpack that a little bit, maybe?
Um, I'm gonna pipe in here. Now the role of the mother. It's one of those roles that motherhood in itself, and like you said, men who are mothering and nurturing as well. It's difficult to put a fence to ring fence it because the role of the mother is so diverse. Like someone would say, I speak with a friend and she says, I'm a nurse, I'm nursing in and mothering at the same time, I am a teacher at the same time, I am the person who lays down the law at the same time, I'm a policeman at the same time, I am referring, matches in my own household at the same time. And those are all things that come into motherhood, because when you have your children fighting one against another, you have to refer that, coming to say, mommy, he's looked at me like that and he's done this and that and the other. You have to be that voice of reason, and stand there. But also when you have your children, rioting in the household, and I say this very lightly, okay, it's not a huge riot, you have to police that incident. But then also when you have them needing your emotional support, you have to be that shoulder on which they lean on. So motherhood spans across so many different facets, but also it does not just start and end within the household. It extends outside the household, so I would say the role of the mother is to nurture and to structure, to say this, and then all of those aspects come underneath these two brackets. It's either you're nurturing or you're structuring. And when I talk about nurturing, is the love, the shelter that you provide, and all of those things. The structure is when you come to laying down the law, consequences, expectations, and all of that. But also in society, motherhood does not just end within the household, it goes into society as well. There are times when, as a teacher, I have to tap into my mothering, my nurturing side to be able to provide for the need of the child who is in front of me, even though that child is my student and not my biological child, or not a child that, is related to me in one way or another. So I would say the role of the mother, it expands wide and large, and especially in a community where, like the one that I grew up in, fundamentally, where you would mother any child that you see, pretty much, whether it was on the street, whether that child walked into your home, whether it was your own child. So it spans far and wide.
Thank you. What a wonderful community as well to grow up where actually, the village is raising the children.
Yeah.
Some of it resonates, but I think, your upbringing and your childhood and what you share just sounds really beautiful. um,
Worse. I go back quite a lot. I do love to go back. And I've taken my children a few times, and they have experienced that as well. And I love to go back and just experience, relive that experience. And the mothers that I go back and meet, they still see me like that 5-year-old child or that 10-year-old child who would, walk across the road and just smile instead of saying hello. And they knew that my way of saying hello was a smile, because I didn't talk much. I would just smile and go past. So, but it takes a village, like I say, and that motherhood is, from all the people, from all the mothers, they're that village, really.
you also picked up on I picked up on something you said around that deep connection. Finding that deep connection when you are in your teaching space,
Hmm.
means then those children that are often that fall through the cracks and are often labeled by society the challenging ones. If you can deeply connect.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are times where it is tough, because you know what young people are like, and they will throw it in your face, especially when you start challenging some of the things that they're doing. They'll throw it in your face and say, "Well, you're not my mother to tell me A, B, and C." And the response, initially, I used to get really upset about the fact that, oh, okay, you just said that. It is not nice. But the response that I eventually developed was, of course, sure, I'm not your mother. You know, I shouldn't be your mother to tell you to do this. I am your teacher. However, if this reminds you of what a mother would say, so be it. I'm still asking you to do it. So it is a nice place, and a great thing to create that connection between, and I emphasize that it's a professional connection, to create that professional connection, but bringing in that aspect of nurturing between myself and my students, and even between myself and the young people that I coach and mentor. It is that connection that allows for them to be open to receive the support that I give them. So, and even us adults, sometimes we need that mothering from someone, that, or that nurturing, let me say so, from some other person or friends around us or the community in which we live in.
That's interesting. That's really interesting, the whole nurturing thing, because I always go on about in leadership, where you provide psychological safety as a leader is where people feel like somebody's got their back.
Hmm.
And I think when I was thinking about today, and one of the things I wrote down was around the entire at a community level. Um, how do you do that? That nurturing and that need that we all have for nurturing. And I see it on LinkedIn, the communities that we are part of. Um, so, yeah, Veronica, what do you want to add to that?
Hmm. Okay, let's imagine we took off the label. What's left? I'm nurturing, I'm compassionate, I am caring, right? All these virtues, they're the substance of who we are as women. And like you said, Manwara, that's a beautiful upbringing that Ivy had. Not everybody has the joy of sharing such a beautiful story, right? There are other cases where they're mothers and they didn't experience the nurturing, they didn't experience the compassion or the understanding for whatever reason that individual be already be may already have gone through their own experiences and don't even know what compassion looks like or what empathy looks like, but it's still a woman, it's still a mother because she gave birth to her. So if we took up the labels and we looked at the human essence, we realize that wherever we are, whether we are being a mother or being that leader or being the teacher or being the friend, it's who you are beyond that label that should really shine through. I'm a nurturer, I nurture. When there's a riot, when there's a misunderstanding, I seek to understand always. And you bring that virtue not only in your household, but you also apply that virtue outside. I'm compassionate to my children. It's a virtue. And without even me being a mother, I'm compassionate. And that's who I am in the core. So as mothers, when we take that label off for a second, it's important to also focus on who we are beyond just that label and make sure that we transcend that in all areas of our lives. I'm not only compassionate to my children, and then I'm not understanding to my friend or an employee or an employer or whoever in the shop or somebody else. I'm not understanding. I show care here, but when I'm outside, I'm not caring. So what am I? Am I like, what does that make me? So all these virtues as women, as mothers, we must make sure that it transcends into all areas of our lives. So when we take up the label and we see the nakedness of who we are, be without that label, it must all be aligned and congruent to the labels and congruent to our core essence of who we are as human beings. Just to add on.
Such an important and relevant to everything and anything. Yeah, the alignment, because we have a habit of playing a role, and
Yeah.
certain communities will say that the mother's role is to be the disciplinarian, you know. And it's really interesting because my own journey, I think I was more of a disciplinarian than I was the structure person, less the nurture as I should be. But what was interesting is in my professional career, I was always the nurturer. And it's quite interesting that I also notice in my journey how many times I've been told not to be that way, and how many times I've pushed back and said, no, watch me and see what works. Because at the end of the day, this is me. And it's your point, Veronica. Like when we try to play a role or a title in the way that the rest of our environment expects us to, we kind of lose our own identity.
That's true.
And I've found that it's taken me a long time to find my identity as a woman, as somebody who has very strong beliefs and values around certain things. And for me, that compassion is so important. And it's how, what I find interesting is the lack of confidence when somebody looks at a certain trait like nurturing and immediately hones down on it as a weakness
Mhm.
as opposed to a strength. What
Mm.
what we're finding is some spaces I've recently been in where people are saying what is now required in leadership to make change in the world is the things that people have sort of ignored for a while or said that's a weakness. So it's quite interesting that now people are trying to embrace that, because if you can be yourself and you can be positive about your traits and your personality and who you are, it's far more inspiring than trying to fall into a particular type, if you like.
Yeah.
I've never agreed. I mean, life, they say, is a journey, and we're changing and evolving all the time. I've never found myself to fully fit into anything, 100%, and I'm quite happy with that.
Oh, yeah, I'm a bit when it comes to labels, I'm a big advocate for the beyond the labels, because I was in a position where I lost all the labels. So whenever I look and hear about labels, as much as they're very significant in this 3D world and in this functional economy that we live in, they have a purpose, they have a role. There's a trap there in losing the humanness and the connection to our true selves. So it's important to acknowledge that beyond the labels, you must understand what that looks like, who you are beyond the labels, so that that transcends into all areas of your lives, and that becomes who you are without the need to fit into a specific statu quo of what society has declared as that definition. And you talk about nurturing and strength. I smiled there because I think I made a post about this strong woman concept, that we have to be the strong, powerful woman. And then that is certainly a part of my journey where I've kind of had to step into or tap into more of my masculine energy, because we are both masculine and feminine. That there's a fusion of those energies in every one of us. We have also masculine and feminine. The question is, where do you tap into more, right? What naturally is your natural flow? For me, certainly the feminine. So the strong woman that I had to, of course, become meant I had to tap into the masculine traits, because there are more masculine traits and there are more feminine traits. We cannot deny that there's a difference in those energies and how that is portrayed. So, the strong character where, you don't have emotions, right? Nothing touches you. You can't move me, right? It's nothing that can bring me down. And, behind closed doors, you're like, like, whoo, I just need to breathe, right? And you realize that you come so numb. And my story wasn't in the corporate, but was in my marriage, my former marriage, and my former marriage with my ex. And with that emotional abuse, I had to be the strong woman, and that meant numbing my emotions, which is not my feminine side. My feminine side is very expressive, very sensual, very emotional in the most powerful of ways. And I suppressed that to a moment where I forgot even what it meant to be feminine. Can you imagine, Veronica, like not being that expressive? I was numbed. And this is the strong woman. Is that really? Anyway.
Yeah.
You say about strong women, Veronica, and I think that that narrative is, many women at the moment are trying to go past that narrative now, because there's this awakening on quotes where many people are realizing that the true essence is within, is not what I portray outwards, and it's within. And I you spoke there, and I identified straight away with that strong woman connotation, because that was me as well, trying to be a mom, be a career woman, do everything, and not even without a sweat, and do it gracefully still. And I realized that it was a tip that I was playing in my mind. It was all in here. And the moment I dropped that label, no, I'm not a strong woman. I am a woman living a human experience. And I want to be human. I am a sensual being, and I want that
The
sensitivity.
narrative of strength.
You know,
Yes, that
I
is strong.
I want it to come out as a strength, not as a weakness, because I grew up thinking that that is a weakness. That is when I realized my true power.
That's it.
I wasn't even strong when I thought I was.
I love that you say that, because that is so true. This narrative of the strong woman, right? Whereas we have to shift that definition, that the strength is in the sensuality, the strength is in the emotion. You're able to express your strength is in the compassion and your understanding and your ability to navigate through these turbulences, right? And navigate in a way that is aligned with who you are, and not faking this strong thing that nothing touches you and nothing moves you in that way, and you don't need the help. talking about asking and receiving. I can talk not from the corporate perspective, but from the personal perspective. Because of my past experience, right? I had to do everything myself as a single mom of two. It's like, I could do it myself. And I did. Uh, like, this is now 7 years, almost 7 years, when my marriage ended. And I made it. An independent, financially stable, and able to have options and provide for my children and fend for myself at the same time and do some extra things, whatever it is. And I struggled to receive when I, finally met the man of my life a few years later. I struggled to receive any help or any kind of, like, I can do this. No, I don't need it. Until you find that safe space, a woman in the presence of a man that is a true king, she can finally breathe and say, wow, I needed that. Wow, it's okay to receive, and it's okay to, tap into your feminine side a bit because you're safe. As women, we need that safety. Whether we like it or not, we want to be safe emotionally, mentally, right? Spiritually, on all realms. That's when a woman can truly be powerful, the power that she is. Yeah. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
personal experience. Monora, you're smiling. What's up?
I'm celebrating us.
Yes.
I'm celebrating us. I think what we haven't done today, like completely changing that narrative around what does strength mean. I've had a couple of male colleagues tell me that I changed their perception around what strength meant.
Wow.
Initially, it was, you're being far too, like, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. And there were times when I said, just watch me. And then there came a time when they would say, Manwar, I don't know what you do, but can you do your magic, please? you know so I want to celebrate us because we don't celebrate ourselves, right? Veronica, I'm hearing you loud, and Ivy, and Lolette, who isn't here right now. She had to um, jump at a fantastic opportunity she recently had to promote her work at the Black Farmers Market in Brixton. So I'm really excited for her, and she's not here. But I want to say as well, to include Lolette, I think it's about time we celebrate ourselves.
Yeah,
Why
absolutely.
should we wait until we're gone? And I don't know if anyone's going to celebrate us or not.
Just summing up the strong concept, or what just came to my mind as we were speaking is, there was a point where, yes, I wanted to be the strong woman, yes, and I needed to be the strong woman concept, which played its role and enabled me to really survive and thrive through really turbulent times in my life and the darkest of moments. Because that's part of that energy that you need to tap into to survive and really pick yourself up. But what transformed from being a strong woman to being a powerful woman? There's a difference. A powerful woman is when a woman knows who she is as a woman and can tap into those virtues and energies and that way of being and be at total peace with it, right? With her femininity, with her sensuality, with her ability to nurture, with her ability to understand in a way, her ability to navigate through using her virtues and her traits as a woman. So that's powerful, and still be okay with it and still be at peace and still thrive. That's power.
I like the word peace that you used there, Veronica. As you were talking, the word that was in my mind was peace. Once you have gotten to a place where you can tap into that strength and that power and everything else, and tap out when you need to, and still be at peace with it, that is where it is.
Wonderfully said. So should we tie up, just summarize for today? If either of you want to do it, go ahead.
Well, I can certainly just start by saying that when I just look at the screen and see that your smiles, it just lights me up. And I think when we see we women just happy, at peace, right, in our strength, in our power, it's a truly liberating feeling that yes, there is a shift in consciousness in the world, and it's just amazing to be a part of it and celebrating that together.
Wow, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes.
That's all I have to say.
Well, ladies, I just have to say that thank you for being here with me today. It's been such a wonderful time spent. You've given me lots to think about, but also I hope that we have managed to provoke people's thinking and touched in some way, impacted people to step into their own power and know that they are free, perhaps a lot more freer than they realize, and celebrate yourself. Don't wait for somebody else to celebrate you, for someone else to acknowledge you. Celebrate yourself and know that we celebrate you today. And hope everyone has a wonderful Mother's Day. Ivy, do you want to? I know you want to say something. I feel it.
I want to just say to everyone that have a wonderful, happy Mother's Day tomorrow. Yeah, let's step in our power, because that true power is not in being strong, quote unquote. It actually is in being the being that you were created to be and embracing that which is within you. It is not out here. It is right inside of you. And once you step into that power, there is a joy to be found there. And joy, I say here, is different from happiness. Joy is a state of being that whether you are happy or not, you are still joyous in your heart. And that's where it's at. That's where the true power is.
Lovely. A great place to end. Thank you for that wonderful message, Ivy. And ladies, have a great Saturday.
Bye. You
All
guys
right.
take care.
Thank you, Rifa, for joining us. Bye bye.